Hey Wes, okay, I took a little time, quite a bit of time actually, to figure out what was happening here. And the first thing that I see that's a problem is that um, you see how if you're looking at the feet, the wheels are skewed sideways. So you can't roll if wheels are faced in different directions. So I have to straighten that out. I'm going to start deleting parts of it. Don't be nervous, it's just a copy. Let's see. I'm going to delete this wheel too. And hitting F so I can zoom in and focus my selection, just using it to get in close to the leg here. I'm going to delete this. So the next problem is that this is open, right? So you did some extrusions and the shape is kind of there, but you need a closed shape. So you shouldn't have any openings to the inside of the object. So we're going to try to work on those two things first and then work on the general shape of the dinosaur. I might be pausing here and there just so I can set up the screen and you don't have to watch me kind of fumble around with this too much. So I'm going to delete this. Let's work on a back leg first. So it's kind of twisted, and that's been a problem, I think, with the train. When you were trying to do the train drive and you asked me for printing help, there was a lot of twists that were going on, and that's a little bit hard to fix by just giving advice. So I'm just going to start deleting things. So I'm going to go into the face mode, and I'm going to delete everything up to here. Then I'm going to look back here, just going to do a little bit of cleanup on the model. And what I did before when I was playing around with it, I ended up mirror duplicating it again, but I'm going to keep both sides just so you can see the difference. So I'm going to delete all that here as well. So now we kind of have just one face that's open that we're going to fix, and I'm going to also go into object mode. I'm going to check, I'm going to go into mesh and check for quads. So select matching polygons, and you choose four-sided to select matching to four-sided. So here we see a couple problems on the leg. This one is not four-sided. These guys seem okay. Here we know why. You have to delete that later after you finish all your duplicating, and something is going on with this panel here. So I'm just going to go into vertex mode and see that there's some extra vertices going on. I'm going to fix them using the target weld tool. Just grab this, bring it over to the outside. I think it was because when I deleted the leg, I'm just going to go back for a second. Hopefully that'll work. This is the point that was a problem. So maybe, I wonder if I do Control Delete instead, if that would be better. Probably. Control Delete. No, it's still having a little bit of that problem. Okay, back to fixing that. Okay. And partially when you started those extrusions and you were trying to make the shapes for the wheel, they came up against a quad and made it basically a six-sided figure. Here there's a lot of twisting going on, so I'm just going to straighten that out by getting rid of some of these edges. Control, make sure you have Control pressed down when you hit delete so you're not creating extra points. I think I did that anyway. Control delete. something is going on with my keyboard. It's not behaving properly. That worked. And now I'm going to go and just fix the vertices. I don't know if this will happen for you. My computer's been a little bit uncooperative. But here that looks all right. Okay. And I think we could also get rid of this edge here. What I'm trying to do is, just have to be in the selection tool, sorry, Control Delete. So I'm trying to kind of clean up the geometry of the legs so I can basically attach a wheel to something that is very straight. I have to straighten some of this next. Okay. The next step I took is, I went through this once before, so I'm going to try to straighten this out so when I make my extrusions, they're straight on and they're facing forward and the wheel will be facing completely forward. So I'm going to try to use the scaling trick that we used to align all the vertices to the center line on the y-axis. And I'm going to try, see if this works. I'm getting this tiny itsy bitsy manipulator. It seems wrong. I wasn't doing that before. I'm going to pause here and figure out why this is happening. Okay, figure this out. So if your manipulator does this for some reason, it's just plus and minus key on the keyboard will adjust the size of the handles. So there we go. Let's see, now I forgot which ones I did. So what I'm doing here, what I'm hoping for, is when I go into the scale tool and I use these manipulators that to scale the points, is that they will put them, this will put them on the correct plane because the manipulator is oriented to the world. The scale manipulator is oriented to the world. And I'm just kind of trying to do the sets on either side in both directions, in really all four directions. This would be so much easier to show in person, but I hope this will work. That one might be straight. So the next time I extrude, this should be straight. I'm going to check in my other viewports. Check straight on, see how that does. So here I can see that now the sides of the opening are aligned with the grid. Maybe I can even do something like this and snap to grid. Make sure it's aligned to the grid. Do that instead of using the scaling. Except that I guess it stays crooked and goes to the center pivot. So maybe back to the scaling. But what I'm trying to do is find a way that I can see that the alignment is correct, that it's corrected and it's facing forward and it's squared off. Because it's the only way you'll really be able to create a squared off area, you know, a squared off sort of divot for the wheel. So that's that one leg. Okay, so the leg is still a little bit twisty. I'm going to check in 3 mode. Kind of interesting shape though, so I'm going to hold off on tweaking that. And go into edge mode now. And I'm going to extrude using the world manipulator. So you, so see if I extrude here like this. Oops. It's not oriented to the world, so it's kind of going all over the place. Oops. All over the place anyway. It's behaving weirdly. If I click here, it'll show me the world manipulator. So now, oh, I still have snapping on, that is why. Now it can, it will align to the X and Y axes in the world. And I can also move it to angle it a little bit, right? I can angle it down to put in that wheel divot. I want to basically have it face down, but it's squared off to the Y and X and Z axes. That looks a little bit better. Okay, go back here. Now what I'm seeing is I actually want to just grab this edge and use the move tool to bring it down. Now since I'm working in the move manipulator, I'm constrained to the axes. So if I just use the arrows, I am moving in directions that are squared off to the workspace, right? But if I start doing stuff like this, then things get twisted, which is I think is a lot of what you're doing. Now if I do something like this, where I select all the edges and I move that around, right, then it's still squared off in some ways. But right now the whole part of this leg is squared off, so you got to be careful how you're moving things. Right now I can put the wheel in. Don't want to do any twisting like that. That was not good. I'll try to square it off in the up and down direction as well. Okay, that is pretty good, and we can adjust the height later. So the next thing is to actually fill this hole. If I double click on the edge loop, I'll select all the way around. I can go here to my polyflow shelf and I can fill this hole. So I can now actually have a closed shape. The next thing I'm going to do is send edge loops all the way through. So to do that, I also have to close the shape on this leg. Otherwise, when you do edge looping, it doesn't see this as quads. It can travel through because there's an opening on the other side, and I think that that's worth fixing next. So I'm going to select this, just hit F so I can zoom in on the selection. I like doing that so I can just kind of get to the place where I want to be. This looks like it has a couple n-gon problems. Go into vertex mode. Fix that. And really what I need to do now is square off this leg before I close it. So I am going to try that. It's a little bit trickier with this angle the way it is. That will create the triangle, so I don't want to do that. Move these points around a little bit to get it as close as I can in space, and just sort of watch it from all angles, because I am moving the points not along the planes, just kind of moving them, but I'm trying to get a sense of where I want it to end up, so I'm close.